Am I audible?
Yes, Satyajit, you are audible.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Flutter Forward Extended. In this session, we are going to discuss Firebase and its integration with your Flutter application. I am Satyajit Pradhan. We also have Amisha Samal with us in this session. We are community members at GDSC VSSUT. So let us begin with today's session. Now, Firebase. You must be wondering, what is Firebase? Well, in simple terms, Firebase is a backend software for application development. Often while developing apps, there are certain features that you want to include in your app that requires a backend, but you may not be able to implement that feature, maybe due to time constraints or lack of skills to write a backend. This is where Firebase comes into picture. It provides a really powerful backend with various features as a service that you can implement in your app instantly. With the help of Firebase, you can develop a full stack app with little to no backend code and can focus on the front end of your application. Features of Firebase: app development made easy. You can develop real high quality apps that the users want to use very easily. With Firebase, you can focus your attention on developing the best possible app, and the backend features will be provided by Firebase. Incredibly built-in analytics. The analytics dashboard is one of the best features of Firebase. It will help you observing user behavior and measure various user characteristics that will help you understand how people use your application. Growth and user engagement. One of the most important aspects of application development is, is being able to develop and engage with users over time. Firebase has numerous features which ensures exactly that. Now, I would request Amisha to explain the steps that you need to follow to explain the steps that you need to follow to add Firebase to your application. Amisha, over to you.
So now I will explain you the steps to set up Firebase for your Flutter application. First, you need to visit firebase.google.com and sign in into your account. Then you have to add a project. You can name a name of your choice for your project. Here I am naming Firebase and click on continue. Then you need to disable the Google Analytics for this project and create the project. This might take a few moments for creating the project. After your project is ready, click on continue. Then you can add app to your project on iOS, Android or web platforms. Here I am adding my app on Android platform. Then you have to register your project using the application ID which is provided in the build gradle file of your project. Here I am providing an application ID. And then we will register our app. Then you need to download and add the config file. Google services.json file has all the necessary information regarding linking Firebase to your Flutter project. Download this file and add this to your Android app folder. Then click on next. Then we need to add some configurations to our build gradle file. Add the dependencies, copy the class path and add it to the dependencies. Then you need to copy the plugin ID and add it to the build gradle file in the app module. Then click on next. After that, continue to console. Then we have many amount of plugins which you can explore in Flutter firebase.flutter.dev. Then you can in the pubsec.yml file in Flutter project, add the dependencies required for your app and get the dependencies. Make these changes in your main.dart file to complete the setup. Import the Firebase core package to initialize your app. Now, I would like to request Satyajit to explain you about available Firebase plugins for Flutter.
So here are the Firebase plugins, stable plugins that are available for Flutter. We will be talking in depth about them. Google Analytics for Firebase. Google Analytics is a free app measurement solution that provides insight on the app usage and user engagement. Analytics reports help you understand clearly how your user behave on your application, which enable you to make informed decisions regarding performance optimizations and the marketing of your application. Firebase authentication. There will be times when you need to authenticate users on your application, but maintaining an authentication infrastructure is really hard. This is where Firebase authentication helps. Firebase authentication provides backend services and easy to use SDKs that you can use to authenticate users on your application. It supports authentication using emails, passwords, phone numbers, and also popular identity providers like Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, etc. Cloud Firestore. Firestore is a flexible, scalable, NoSQL cloud database that you can use to store and sync data. It has offline support, which means that the users can read, write, listen to the data even when the device is offline. The data is synced again when the device is connected to the internet again. Cloud Firestore has support for flexible hierarchical data structures. It is designed to scale so that you can use it to build responsive applications that can be used by millions of users. Cloud storage. Cloud storage for Firebase is built for app developers who need to store and serve user generated content such as photos and videos. This is a really robust service, uh, which means that users can download and upload uh, content regardless of their network quality. It also has strong security and it is also highly scalable. Crashlytics. There will be times when your app runs into some problems, some bugs, and it crashes. Firebase Crashlytics exactly helps with that. It is a lightweight and real-time crash reporter that helps you track, prioritize, and fix stability issues. Crashlytics saves the troubleshooting time by intelligently grouping crashes and highlighting the circumstances that lead up to them. It logs the events that leads to the crash and sends the crash report when the app is opened next time. Then we have dynamic link. Firebase dynamic links are smart links that work differently depending on the platform. With dynamic link, you can have a single link that behaves in multiple way in different platforms. If a user opens a dynamic link on iOS or Android platform, they can be taken directly to the linked content in your native application. If the user does not have the application already, then the user will be prompted to download the application, and after installing the application, the link can be accessed. Similarly, if a user opens the dynamic link on a desktop browser, they will be taken to the equivalent content on your website. Remote config. Firebase's remote config is a cloud service that lets you change the behavior and appearance of your application without you having to release a new version of it. You can use the remote config backend API or the Firebase console to change the in-app default values, either for all the users on your application or for a particular segment of user base. uh, your app constantly checks for updates, and when new update is available, it applies them. Remote config has negligible performance impact. Real-time database. Firebase's real-time database is a NoSQL cloud database. The data is synced across all the client applications in real time, and it is also available when the device goes offline. In real-time database, the data is stored in a JSON file. Now, we we talked about real-time database and Cloud Firestore. They both are database solutions in the Firebase. While on the surface they look similar, there are certain differences that set them apart. Here we're discussing some of them. Real-time database was Firebase's original database, while Cloud Firestore is Firebase's newest database that is built upon the success of real-time database. In real-time database, the data is stored in one large JSON tree, while in Cloud Firestore, data is stored as collection of documents. Complex hierarchical data is hard to organize in real-time database, but it is easier in the case of Cloud Firestore. Real-time database has support for presence, which means that we can determine whether the user is offline or online. Cloud Firestore does not natively support presence. Both real-time database and Cloud Firestore support for Android and iOS clients, but Cloud Firestore also has support for web clients as well. Real-time database has deep queries with limited sorting and filtering functionalities. Cloud Firestore has indexed queries with compound sorting and filtering. Real-time database has basic write and transaction operations, but Cloud Firestore supports advanced write and transaction operations. In the case of Cloud Firestore, scaling is automatic, but in real-time database, you need to do threading after a point. Real-time database is a regional solution, but Cloud Firestore is a multi-region solution. Now, Amisha will explain about Firebase extensions.
Firebase extensions. They speed up the process of the common capabilities of an app like build, test, debug, and deploy. These are pre-packaged solutions that provide extended functionality to your app. As they're one packaged, you just need to install and configure it. And you do not need to spend extra time on research, debug, or write the code that implements the functionality of your app. Each installed instance of an extension is unique, and you can use the same extensions in different projects. Extensions can respond to events generated by Firebase products that we have already used in our app, like a specific real-time database write can trigger sending a new Firebase Cloud messaging notification. An installed extension is granted limited access to only the resources and code. You need not worry about credentials, server configuration, provisioning new servers, or decommissioning old ones. You can use the Firebase extensions to speed up the process of your app basic needs. Then we move to hosting with Firebase. This deals with deploying our Flutter app on web through a Firebase hosted URL. It gives us infrastructure, tooling, and features we need to deploy and manage websites and apps. So let us discuss its working. First, we need to have index.html file in our Flutter project files. Then we need to set up the Firebase project. After that, we need to install the Node Package Manager, that is NPM, which is a library and registry for JavaScript software packages. After installing npm, run this command shown right here to install Firebase tools. Then log in into your Firebase account inside the project and use Firebase init command to initialize your project. Select hosting and choose your project, and the project will be initiated successfully with the configuration files firebase.json and Firebase RC. Then run Firebase build web to build your app for web. Finally, you need to deploy your app by running the Firebase deploy to host your web app. Then we have an example of a basic app that implement email authentication using Firebase Authentication and Flutter. This is the auth.dart file. Here we rename the import as auth. So we can use auth.firebase to create an instance in the class auth. Then we create the method that maps the data that comes from Firebase so that it matches our user model. Then we return null if the user object is null, and if it is not null, we return user object and pass the UID and email as defined in our model class. Then we return a stream of users and map it so we can be able to use our Firebase user method. Then we create a method handle sign in email and pass the email and password the user entered. Then we create the result variable and call the Firebase method to sign in into the account. So return user from the result variable. Then we create another method handle sign up and pass in email and password the user entered. Then we create the result variable and call the Firebase method to log in into the account. Then we return user from the result variable. At last, we create the logout functionality. So we create and define all the functionalities to make this app shown right here. Now we will have a live demo of email authentication. So here is an app we have built using Flutter that implements the Firebase authentication. As you can see, we do not have an account, so we need to create an account. Here I am registering through my email ID and giving a password of my choice. Register. The user is signed in. Now we need to refresh this page. We can see our user is added to this authentication page in Firebase console. So you can check the source code of this application in the GitHub link that will be provided. So with this, we end today's session, and I hope you will be able to create amazing apps to Flutter and Firebase.